Jon Cooper from Ourlands Guide to the NFL Draft joins us. Jon, thank you for your patience. We appreciate it. How nuts is it right now with what's going on with people talking, if their lips are moving, they're lying, et cetera, between now and a little over 24 hours from now?
Well, it's every year is different, but it's there's always talk. There's always rumors flying. There's always media people that are bringing out things that they hear. I don't even know where it's all coming from. I mean, one year I tried to keep track of all the rumors just to see how many of them would come true. I quit doing that. It was, general manager once told me that, we listen to everything. We believe half of it, maybe half of it.
So a lot of the rumors are about Sheduer Sanders and like all those things. I just want to talk about his game with you. The knock is that he takes a lot of sacks. Sometimes, Jon, I feel like I hear this from scouts and they've just been watching the cut-ups and they haven't like put in the context of how an offense had to work to be successful the whole year. But Colorado's offensive line was so bad for 2 years that, yeah, I'm sure he did take some sacks. Maybe he didn't need to, but they couldn't run the ball. So how much does that get factored in scouts of like, yeah, he does some bad things, but this offensive line was trash?
Well, first of all, you have to take a look at the big picture. Obviously, he does a lot of things well, or we wouldn't be talking about him right now. The thing that I look at is what I call pocket presence. And what I see in him is that he doesn't have great pocket presence. I mean, he's a guy that kind of will he doesn't sense the rush real well. He doesn't move away from the rush real well. When he does move away from the rush, he's got a kind of a signature move that isn't really that good. He gives a lot of ground by flipping out, and that's where some of those sacks come from. He holds on to the ball for a long time. I'll give him credit. He's a tough kid. He'll stand in there, and he will take a hit. So that's a positive in some ways. But he's got to improve his ability to sense the rush. And obviously there's been a lot of rush, because of, you're right, the offensive line hasn't been very good. Now, let's talk about what he does well, the redeeming qualities. He's a guy that can throw the ball outside the numbers, a 35, 40-yard ball on a rope. He can layer passes very well. He can hit balls in the deep outside, the deep intermediate, and just he's very accurate passer. He can throw guys open against man coverage, and that's something that is not all that easy to do, and it's a skill that not all quarterbacks have, and he's got that. So with a clean pocket, this kid's going to be good. The problem is in the NFL, you don't always get a clean pocket. So, there's some things that he has to work on. Cam Ward has to work on some things too, but he's got a little bit more ability to create than Sheduer was, and he's more of a gunslinger than Sheduer. He takes more chances. Sheduer doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. So there's obviously strengths and weaknesses with these guys, and it just depends on what you want to work with.
Jon, let me stick with the quarterbacks and that guy who seems to be getting a lot of just at least first-round smoke. I've seen a couple mock drafts here. Jalen Milroe from Alabama. What stands out to you for better or worse in breaking him down as a prospect, and what are your thoughts on him as a potential first-round pick, they're late in the first half of the draft tomorrow night?
Yeah, the thing is with him, there's been a lot of criticism of him as he's not an accurate passer. He's not this, he's not that. He's a great creator, though, with his feet, and he has flashed ability to make all the throws that an NFL quarterback has to make. He had some tough games, where he threw the ball into coverage. He wasn't real good, extemporaneously, as I like to say, in terms of where he ended up. But the athletic skill is there to be a great creator. There's another quarterback that all of these negatives were said about. His name is Lamar Jackson. Same stuff. And there's some Lamar Jackson in this kid. And he has a chance to develop into a really good quarterback. Now, that said, there has been some very poor play coming from him. But at the same time, there are flashes of terrific, outstanding play that a team can really benefit from if they can bring out the tools in him. And he's got a chance to be a good player. And it wouldn't surprise me if somebody drafts him in the first round. We liked him a lot early, but and he was very hot and cold this year at times. And so he's still the same player that he was middle of the season when we were thinking that this guy could be a first round pick.
John, when you see quotes, whether it's about Shedeur, who Paul brought up, or Milroe, I saw something about had he gone back to Alabama, some of the skilled people might have left. And again, these are anonymous quotes, or AFC scout, or so-and-so. Is that just trash? And what are your thoughts about the anonymous quotes about a player when they're about to be drafted in perhaps their next 3 to 15 years of playing pro football?
Well, you're dealing with, young men who aren't always the most mature guys. And some of these guys do things that, gets their teammates upset. I mean, let's talk about Jaden Daniels. I mean, Jaden Daniels looks like he's one of the best teammates you could possibly be. But they say when he transferred from ASU that everybody was cheering and they burned his jersey and all this kind. I don't know if they did that or he was the guy I'm thinking of. But I know there was a lot of negative stuff, that anonymous negative stuff that came out about him. But I'll tell you what, Jaden Daniels is a terrific pro. So you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt, especially if it's second, third hand stuff. That's some of there's some stuff there. I'm sure in some cases we've heard some things about certain players that we haven't heard elsewhere. But you take it with a grain of salt and you make the decision based on what and you've got a pretty good handle on it because of some of the things that the NFL does in terms of security, in terms of finding out about these people. So, there aren't that many mistakes made, when you draft a guy. And sometimes there's certain things you simply live with because you want the player.
John, do you expect it to get crazy if the Browns and Giants don't draft Sheduer, and we get to that fourth pick where New England has their quarterback in Drake May, and they have a ton of other needs? Could things get exciting after that as far as moves go?
Yes, and for sure, because it's not only Shedeur that people might be looking at. Ashton Genty right now, we could see every team from about 4 on down to 10, 11, 12 wanting this player because he's pretty special. So it's not just trading up for a quarterback. There's other teams that are going to want to maybe trade up. There's going to be people that would love to give Abdul Carter in their building. Travis Hunter. I mean, there's some special players there that people would like to get. So, and it just depends on the team that has that player that they can pick. Are you willing to give that player up? And what can I get for that player? That's the bottom line. It takes two teams to tangle. And, it's not something that happens easily. There's a cost for each team.
If you could bank your paycheck on like you're not drafting for a team for a specific position you don't like, well, we need you're just drafting the best football player in this draft. Who do you think that is?
Well, either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
Okay.
For different reasons. But those two are the thing I like about Travis Hunter is he's obviously extremely skilled. The fact that he can play both ways. He can impact the game in very many different ways. He's a great zone corner. He's a solid man-to-man corner. He's a terrific receiver. And he uses the receiving skills on defense with what he knows. I mean, this is a great guy to have in your building. Abdul Carter, the way he came on after never having played edge rusher and looking I wouldn't say lost, but really out of place early in the season. A lot of people were wondering, why are you taking this elite off the ball linebacker and making him into an edge rusher? By the end of the year, you could see why. And he's only going to get better. So, I'll take either one of those guys. And it's a tough call. It's a really tough call.
If, in fact, Dallas at 12, if everything kind of goes according to plan, Matthew Golden or Teteroa McMillan?
Well, it depends on what you want. Do you want the speed receiver or you want the big receiver? If you want speed, the speed receiver, that downtown type guy, you're going to take Golden. If you want height with good enough speed and decent route runner and good hands, you're going to take McMillan. We like McMillan a little bit better, but we can understand Golden, and we think those are the two best receivers in the draft. And I think there's going to be some teams that want to trade up to get one of those guys too.
If, in fact, you're going to get him and you have CD on the other side, which does it matter whether it's Golden or McMillan based on tagging him with CD?
No, I don't think so. McMillan might be a little bit better fit in some ways, traditionally, but I'd take either one of those guys.
Okay, if I told you 5 quarterbacks go in the first 35 picks, would I be crazy?
That would surprise me.
Okay.
But anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean,
that would surprise me. That would really surprise me.
Because that would mean like Dart, Shuck, and Milroe, and maybe Will Howard get in those first 35, right?
Right. I could see 4. I can't see 5. But, hey, maybe.
Jon, one more question for me, and we appreciate you, man, throughout this lead up. You've been fantastic. Always have been. If you have a board and you rate it with all the players, positions, whatever, whether it's 1 through 100 or 200, or if it's the first round or whatever, position by position, but there's a red mark next to a name because of character issues. When do you say, hell, screw it, we need this guy, we need this position, he's talented, and overlook that, or is that just dangerous?
It depends on the team. It depends on the coaching staff. It just depends on what your philosophy is. I know, having been around some NFL teams and listening to people talk, some people say, hey, you know what? We're going to take the player. We're going to wave money in front of this guy's face, and he's going to perform for us, and we're going to make sure he does. We're going to give him some hard coaching, some 2x4s, and we're going to make a player out of this guy. And there's some that say, hey, no, we want character in our building, period, and we're not going to try to create character. And we don't see in this particular player character. I know there's some players that are, for some teams, they're off the board, simply because of that.
Right.
But there's also, some teams, it used to be Al Davis used to say, just win, baby.
Yep.
And so there's going to be some of that. I don't know how much of that there is with each team. I know certain teams very well. And I know, there's some guys that are going to be very, very careful about the character of the individual player.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate it. Enjoy. Sit back and enjoy. You guys have busted to get a lot of this information out. Thank you as always, Jon.
Well, thanks for having me. Enjoyed
Yes, sir. Jon Cooper from Ourlands Guide to the NFL Draft.